The Keddie Cabin Murders remain one of the most chilling, unsolved crimes in American history. On the night of April 11, 1981, a brutal massacre unfolded in Cabin 28 at the Keddie Resort, a quiet rural retreat nestled in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. Glenna Sue Sharp, her son John Sharp, and his friend Dana Wingate were savagely murdered with knives and a hammer, their bodies left bound and bloodied in the living room. Adding to the horror was the disappearance of Sue's 12-year-old daughter, Tina Sharp, whose fate would remain unknown for years. The discovery of the crime scene was equally harrowing. Sheila Sharp, Sue's 14-year-old daughter, returned home the next morning after spending the night at a friend's cabin nearby. What awaited her was a scene of unimaginable violence. Overturned furniture, blood-stained walls, and 3 lifeless bodies sprawled across the room. The silence of the house was broken only by Sheila's screams as she realized her sister Tina was missing and her younger brothers Rick and Greg were inexplicably unharmed in a nearby bedroom. The mystery deepened with the survival of Rick, Greg, and their friend Justin Smart, who had all been sleeping in a bedroom mere feet away from the carnage. None of them claimed to have heard or seen anything during the attack, though Justin later provided a puzzling account. He described vague memories of seeing 2 men in the cabin that night, but couldn't confirm if it was real or just a dream. Investigators found blood on the doorknob of the boys' room, suggesting someone might have entered briefly before retreating. Adding to the confusion was the sheer brutality of the crime scene. Sue Sharp had been beaten and stabbed repeatedly, while John and Dana suffered similar fates, with Dana also showing signs of strangulation. The weapons used, a steak knife, butcher knife, and claw hammer, were left at the scene, some bent from the force of the attacks. Yet despite such violence, there were no clear signs of forced entry into Cabin 28, leaving investigators baffled as to how the killers gained access. The investigation quickly turned its focus to 2 men, Marty Smart, a neighbor who lived just 2 cabins away with his wife Marilyn, and his friend John Bo Babade, an ex-convict who had recently moved in with Marty. Suspicion arose after Marilyn revealed that Marty had been angry with Sue, blaming her for interfering in his troubled marriage. Strangely, Marilyn left Marty the day after the murders, further fueling speculation about his involvement. Despite these leads, the case stalled due to a lack of concrete evidence and missteps by law enforcement. One of the most damning pieces of evidence surfaced decades later, a letter written by Marty to Marilyn shortly after the murders. In it, he chillingly confessed, "I've paid the price of your love, and now that I've bought it with the lives of 4 people, you tell me we're through." Additionally, a therapist in Reno claimed that Marty had confessed to the killings during a session. Shockingly, this confession was never pursued by investigators at the time, leaving many questions unanswered about why such critical information was ignored. The disappearance of Tina Sharp added another layer of horror to the case. For 3 years, her whereabouts remained a mystery, with no substantial leads. Then, on the 3rd anniversary of the murders in April 1984, a skull and several bones were discovered near Camp 18, an isolated area about 100 kilometers from Keddie. The remains were later confirmed to belong to Tina through dental records. What made this discovery even more unsettling was an anonymous call to the sheriff's office on the day the bones were found. The caller identified the remains as Tina's before the authorities had even confirmed it, suggesting that whoever made the call had intimate knowledge of the crime. Despite this chilling development, the case remained cold for decades. In 2016, investigators reopened the file and uncovered new evidence, including a hammer found in a nearby lake that matched descriptions of one of the murder weapons. Advances in DNA technology also provided a breakthrough when a piece of medical tape used to bind one of the victims revealed genetic material linked to a living suspect. However, even with these discoveries, no arrests were made, and the identity of the killers remained officially unconfirmed. The reopening of the investigation brought renewed hope to those seeking justice for the Sharp family. Sheriff Greg Hagwood and investigator Mike Gamberg, both personally connected to the victims, took charge of the case. Hagwood had spent nights in Cabin 28 as a child when a friend lived there, while Gamberg had taught martial arts to John and Dana. Their involvement brought a sense of urgency and dedication that had been lacking in the initial investigation. Gamberg uncovered several overlooked pieces of evidence, including handwritten notes and witness statements that pointed to Marty Smart and John Boubedi as prime suspects. However, time was not on their side. Both Smart and Boubedi had died years earlier, Smart in 2000 and Boubedi in 1988, making it impossible to pursue charges against them. Despite this, Gamberg remained convinced of their guilt, citing their proximity to the crime scene, Marty's confession, and the cryptic letter he wrote to Marilyn. The investigators also believed that more people were aware of what happened that night but had stayed silent out of fear or loyalty, further complicating efforts to uncover the full truth. The Keddie Cabin Murders left a profound and unsettling mark on the local community. Once a lively vacation destination, the Keddie Resort quickly fell into decline after the tragedy. Visitors stopped coming, and the area became synonymous with fear and tragedy. Cabin 28, in particular, turned into a grim attraction for true crime enthusiasts and those drawn to its dark history. By 2004, the cabin was demolished in an attempt to erase its haunting legacy, but for those who lived through that time, the memories of what happened there could never truly be erased. The case has since inspired documentaries, books, and countless discussions in true crime circles. Works like Cabin 28, The Keddie Murders delve deep into the details of that fateful night and the enduring mystery surrounding it. Despite decades of investigation and renewed efforts, the murders remain unsolved. For many, the case is a chilling reminder of how violence can shatter even the most peaceful communities and how justice can remain elusive despite the passage of time. One of the most haunting aspects of the Keddie Cabin Murders is the sense of lost potential and unanswered questions. Sheila Sharp, who discovered the crime scene, has spoken about how that morning forever changed her life. Losing her mother, brother, and close family friends in such a brutal way left scars that time could never heal. For years, she carried the weight of survivor's guilt, questioning why she'd been spared while others were not. Her testimony and resilience have kept the case alive in public memory, ensuring that the victims are not forgotten. Equally unsettling is the role of law enforcement failures in prolonging the mystery. From mishandled evidence to ignored confessions, the initial investigation was riddled with errors that many believe allowed the killers to escape justice. The lack of coordination between agencies and the apparent dismissal of key leads created a sense of frustration for those seeking answers. Even decades later, these missteps cast a shadow over the case, leaving many to wonder whether it could have been solved had it been handled differently from the start. The discovery of Tina's remains added a chilling layer to an already horrifying case. Found nearly 100 kilometers away from the crime scene, her bones raised questions about the killer's motives and their movements after the murders. Why was Tina taken? And why was her body discarded so far from Keddie? The anonymous phone call that tipped off authorities about her remains remains one of the most puzzling elements of the case. Investigators speculated that the caller might have been one of the killers, taunting them or attempting to divert attention from other evidence. The forensic analysis of Tina's remains provided little clarity. Her skull showed no obvious signs of trauma, leaving experts uncertain about how she died. This lack of definitive answers only deepened the mystery surrounding her fate. The timing of her discovery, exactly 3 years after the murders, felt almost deliberate, as if someone had been waiting for the anniversary to make their move. These unanswered questions continue to haunt those who have studied the case, highlighting just how much remains unknown about what truly happened in Cabin 28. The role of Marty Smart in the murders remains one of the most debated aspects of the case. His behavior in the days following the crime raised numerous red flags, from his abrupt departure from Keddie to his cryptic letter to Marilyn. Despite his confession to a therapist and the damning note, law enforcement at the time failed to pursue him aggressively as a suspect. Some theorists believe that Marty's connection to local authorities may have played a role in shielding him from deeper scrutiny. This alleged protection has fueled speculation that there may have been a cover-up, whether intentional or due to negligence. John Beau Boubed, Marty's friend and another key suspect, also left behind a trail of suspicion. A known ex-convict with ties to organized crime, Beau's presence in Keddie seemed out of place. Investigators later learned that he had a history of violent behavior, which made his potential involvement in the murders even more plausible. However, like Marty, Beau evaded justice during his lifetime, leaving behind only questions and speculation. The combination of these two men's proximity to the crime scene and their suspicious actions has cemented them as central figures in the enduring mystery of the Keddie Cabin Murders. The possibility of a larger conspiracy surrounding the murders has also been a point of fascination for investigators and true crime enthusiasts alike. Some have theorized that the brutality of the killings and the apparent lack of forced entry suggest the perpetrators may have been known to the victims. Others point to the potential involvement of more than two individuals, given the sheer level of violence and the coordinated effort required to abduct Tina. These theories, while compelling, remain speculative due to the lack of concrete evidence tying additional suspects to the crime. Adding to the complexity is the eerie silence from those who might have known more. Over the years, several individuals connected to Marty Smart and John Boubede have come forward with partial accounts or cryptic statements, but none have provided enough information to break the case wide open. Whether out of fear, loyalty, or a desire to protect themselves, this silence has allowed the mystery to endure. For those close to the victims, this lack of closure has been one of the most painful aspects of the case, leaving them trapped in a cycle of unanswered questions and lingering grief. The physical evidence left behind at Cabin 28 remains a crucial piece of the puzzle. The weapons used in the murders, a steak knife, a butcher knife, and a claw hammer, were all found at the scene, but their placement raised questions. One of the knives was bent, indicating the sheer force used during the attack. Additionally, investigators noted that the bindings on the victims were made with medical tape and electrical cords, materials that seemed readily available, suggesting premeditation. Despite these clues, forensic analysis at the time was limited, leaving many potential leads unexplored. Modern advancements in DNA technology have breathed new life into the case. In 2018, investigators revealed that genetic material found on the medical tape matched a living suspect. While this breakthrough offered hope for progress, no arrests were made, and authorities remained tight-lipped about the identity of the individual. This revelation underscored how far forensic science has come since 1981, but it also highlighted the challenges of solving cold cases, where evidence has degraded over time. For many following the case, this development served as both a reminder of its complexity and a glimmer of hope that justice might still be possible. The psychological toll of the Keddie Cabin Murders on those involved cannot be overstated. Sheila Sharp, who discovered the bodies, has spoken openly about the trauma that has followed her throughout her life. The image of her mother, brother, and their friend brutally murdered is something she can never erase from her memory. For years, she struggled with survivor's guilt, questioning why she had been spared while others were not. Her resilience in the face of such horror has been a beacon for those who continue to seek justice for the victims. For the surviving younger siblings, Rick and Greg Sharp, the events of that night remain shrouded in mystery. Having slept through the massacre, they were shielded from the immediate horror, but have lived with its aftermath nonetheless. Their childhood was marked by loss and unanswered questions as they grew up in the shadow of a crime that tore their family apart. Justin Smart, who was also in the cabin that night, provided fragmented memories that hinted at what might have happened, but never offered enough clarity to solve the case. Together, their stories paint a picture of lives forever altered by an act of unimaginable violence. The demolition of Cabin 28 in 2004 marked the end of an era for Keddie. For years, the cabin had stood as a grim reminder of the tragedy, drawing curious visitors and true crime enthusiasts to its crumbling walls. Its removal was seen by many as an attempt to move forward, to erase the physical reminder of a night that had shattered lives and haunted the community. Yet, despite its absence, the legacy of the murders remains firmly etched in the minds of those who lived through it and those who continue to study the case. The Keddie Resort itself never recovered from the stigma attached to the murders. Once a peaceful getaway in Tewas, the Sierra Nevada mountains, it became synonymous with fear and violence. The decline in visitors turned Keddie into a ghost town, with abandoned cabins and overgrown paths replacing what had once been a thriving destination. For locals, the transformation of their community was a secondary tragedy, as they watched their home become defined by one horrific event. Even today, the name Keddie evokes images of blood-stained walls and unanswered questions rather than the idyllic retreat it once was. The media's fascination with the Keddie Cabin Murders has played a significant role in keeping the case alive. Over the years, documentaries, podcasts, and books have dissected every detail of the crime, offering theories and speculations about what truly happened that night. While this attention has brought renewed interest to the case, it has also led to sensationalism and misinformation. For Sheila Sharp and other surviving family members, this constant spotlight has been a double-edged sword, keeping the victims' memories alive, but also reopening old wounds with each new retelling. One of the most enduring aspects of the case is its influence on popular culture. Some believe that the Keddie murders inspired elements of horror films and novels, though these connections are often speculative. The brutality of the crime, combined with its unsolved status, has made it a source of fascination for creators exploring themes of violence and mystery. However, for those directly affected by the tragedy, this cultural fascination can feel exploitative, reducing their loved ones to characters in a macabre story rather than real people whose lives were taken far too soon. Despite the renewed investigations and advancements in forensic science, the Keddie Cabin Murders remain officially unsolved. For many, this lack of resolution is the most haunting aspect of the case. How could such a brutal crime, committed in a small, close-knit community, go unanswered for more than 4 decades? Theories abound, from police corruption to a larger conspiracy, but none have been definitively proven. This enduring mystery has cemented the case as one of the most perplexing in American criminal history. For investigators like Mike Gamberg and Sheriff Greg Hagwood, the case is more than just a professional challenge. It's personal. Both men have expressed frustration at the mistakes made during the initial investigation and a determination to uncover the truth, even if it comes decades late. Their efforts have brought some hope to those who still seek justice for the Sharp family. But time is running out. With many key figures already deceased, the window for solving the case grows smaller with each passing year, leaving behind a lingering sense of unfinished business. The psychological profile of the killers has also been a topic of speculation among experts and amateur sleuths. The sheer brutality of the murders suggests a level of rage and personal vendetta, leading some to believe that the perpetrators had a direct connection to the victims. Others argue that the presence of multiple weapons and the abduction of Tina indicate a more calculated and premeditated crime. These conflicting theories highlight the complexity of the case and the difficulty in narrowing down a clear motive or profile for those responsible. In recent years, advancements in true crime communities online have brought fresh eyes to the case. Forums and social media groups dedicated to unsolved crimes have dissected every detail, from police reports to autopsy findings, in an attempt to piece together what happened. While some of these efforts have uncovered overlooked details, they have also introduced a flood of misinformation and baseless theories. For the families of the victims, this constant scrutiny can be both a source of hope and frustration as they watch strangers debate the lives and deaths of their loved ones. The discovery of the hammer in a nearby lake during the 2016 investigation was one of the most significant breakthroughs in the case. Believed to be one of the murder weapons, its recovery reignited interest and raised questions about how it had remained hidden for so long. Investigators theorized that it had been deliberately discarded to avoid detection, but its presence so close to the crime scene suggested a rushed or panicked attempt to cover up evidence. This finding, coupled with advancements in DNA analysis, offered a glimmer of hope that the case might finally be solved. However, even with these developments, the trail has grown cold once again. The DNA evidence linked to a living suspect has yet to result in an arrest, leaving many to wonder if justice will ever be served. For those who have followed the case closely, this lack of resolution is a bitter pill to swallow. The Keddie Cabin Murders remain a stark reminder of how even the most horrifying crimes can slip through the cracks of the justice system, leaving behind only questions and a haunting legacy. The timeline of events leading up to the murders has been scrutinized endlessly, with investigators and amateur sleuths attempting to piece together the movements of everyone involved. Sue Sharp had reportedly spent the evening at home with her children, while John and Dana were seen hitchhiking earlier that night. Their arrival at Cabin 28 marked the last known moments before the horrific events unfolded. Witnesses in the area reported hearing muffled screams during the night, but no one called law enforcement, a detail that has haunted the community ever since. The lack of immediate action by neighbors and authorities has been a point of contention in discussions about the case. Some argue that the isolated nature of Keddie contributed to a slower response, while others believe fear may have played a role in keeping witnesses silent. This delay allowed the killers to escape without leaving behind substantial evidence, creating a vacuum that has yet to be filled. For those close to the victims, this sense of missed opportunities adds another layer of frustration and sorrow to an already devastating tragedy. The role of Marilyn Smart, Marty's wife, has also been a source of intrigue in the case. As someone who was close to both Marty and Sue Sharp, Marilyn's perspective could have provided crucial insights into the dynamics leading up to the murders. Her decision to leave Marty the day after the killings raised eyebrows, with many speculating that she might have known more than she revealed. While Marilyn has denied any involvement, her proximity to the suspects and victims continues to fuel theories about her potential knowledge of what transpired that night. Adding to the complexity is Justin Smart, Marilyn's son, who was present in Cabin 28 during the murders. His fragmented recollections of seeing two men in the cabin have been analyzed repeatedly by investigators but remain inconclusive. Some believe Justin's memories may have been influenced by trauma or fear, while others argue they could hold the key to identifying the killers. Despite these efforts, Justin's account has never led to a definitive breakthrough, leaving his role in the case as another unanswered question in a story filled with mysteries. The decision to demolish Cabin 28 was met with mixed reactions from the community. For some, tearing down the structure symbolized a step toward healing and moving on from the tragedy. For others, it felt like erasing a vital piece of evidence that might one day help solve the case. The cabin had stood as a physical reminder of the horrors that unfolded within its walls, drawing true crime enthusiasts and investigators alike. Its absence has left a void, both literal and symbolic, in the ongoing quest for answers. Despite the cabin's demolition, the case continues to attract attention from those determined to uncover the truth. Documentaries, books, and online forums have kept the story alive. dissecting every detail and theorizing about what might have happened. While some of these efforts have brought new insights to light, they have also perpetuated myths and misinformation. For the surviving members of the Sharp family, this constant spotlight is a reminder that their tragedy has become a public spectacle, a painful reality that underscores the enduring fascination with unsolved crimes. The involvement of law enforcement in the case has been criticized for decades, with many pointing to missed opportunities and mishandled evidence. Early on, investigators failed to properly secure the crime scene, allowing potential clues to be contaminated or lost. Witness statements were inconsistently recorded, and leads that could have pointed to the killers were ignored. This lack of professionalism has led some to speculate about possible corruption or incompetence within the local police force, a theory that remains controversial but persistent among true crime enthusiasts. One of the most glaring oversights was the failure to act on Marty Smart's confession to a therapist shortly after the murders. His admission, combined with the incriminating letter he wrote to Marilyn, should have been enough to warrant further investigation. Instead, these pieces of evidence were largely dismissed, leaving many to wonder if Marty's connections within the community played a role in shielding him from scrutiny. This perceived negligence has fueled frustration among those seeking justice for the Sharp family, turning what could have been a solvable case into one of America's most enduring mysteries. The discovery of Tina's remains 3 years after the murders remains one of the most chilling aspects of the case. Found in a remote area over 100 kilometers away from Keddie, her bones raised more questions than answers. Why was she taken, and what happened to her in the hours or days following the murders? The anonymous phone call that led authorities to her remains has been a focal point of speculation, with some believing it came from someone directly involved in the crime. This eerie detail has only deepened the mystery, leaving investigators to wonder if the caller was taunting them or attempting to mislead the investigation. Forensic analysis of Tina's remains provided few definitive answers. Her skull showed no clear signs of trauma, and the condition of her bones made it difficult to determine how she died. The timing of their discovery, on the 3rd anniversary of the murders, has led some to theorize that it was not a coincidence. Whether this was a calculated move by the killers or a grim twist of fate remains unknown. What is clear, however, is that Tina's tragic fate continues to haunt those who have studied the case, serving as a stark reminder of how much about that night remains unresolved. The role of fear and silence in the Keddie community has also been a recurring theme in discussions about the case. Over the years, multiple individuals have come forward with fragmented accounts or cryptic statements, hinting that they might know more than they initially revealed. Some theorists believe that fear of retaliation or loyalty to the suspects may have kept key witnesses from speaking out. This culture of silence has only added to the frustration of investigators and family members who feel that crucial pieces of the puzzle remain hidden just beneath the surface. Even decades later, the emotional scars left by the murders are evident in those who lived through them. For Sheila Sharp and her surviving siblings, the loss of their family members in such a brutal and publicized way has been a lifelong burden. The lack of closure has made healing nearly impossible, as each new development in the case reopens old wounds. Despite this, Sheila has remained vocal in her quest for justice, ensuring that her mother, brother, and sister are not forgotten. Her determination serves as a testament to the resilience of those left behind in the wake of unimaginable tragedy. The advancements in forensic technology have brought renewed hope to solving the Keddie Cabin murders, but they have also highlighted the limitations of cold case investigations. DNA evidence recovered from the scene has provided promising leads, yet the passage of time has complicated efforts to connect these findings to living suspects. As materials degrade and memories fade, the challenge of piecing together a coherent narrative becomes increasingly difficult. For investigators like Mike Gamberg, this reality is a constant source of frustration, as he works tirelessly to uncover the truth before it's too late. Despite these obstacles, the case continues to captivate public interest, drawing amateur sleuths and professional investigators alike into its web of unanswered questions. From online forums to documentaries, the story of Cabin 28 has become a symbol of both the resilience of those seeking justice and the enduring mysteries that surround unsolved crimes. For many, the Keddie murders represent more than just a tragic event. They are a reminder of the fragility of safety and the devastating impact of violence on small communities. As the search for answers continues, one thing remains certain: the legacy of this case will not be forgotten. The Keddie Cabin Murders have left a lasting imprint not only on the small community where they occurred, but also on the broader landscape of true crime. The case has become a cautionary tale about the consequences of investigative failures and the importance of preserving evidence. For many, it serves as a grim reminder that justice is not always guaranteed, even in cases where the perpetrators seem within reach. The unanswered questions surrounding the murders continue to fuel speculation, ensuring that the story remains alive in public consciousness more than 4 decades later. As time marches on, the possibility of solving the case becomes increasingly slim. Key witnesses have passed away, evidence has deteriorated, and memories have faded. Yet for those who remain committed to uncovering the truth, hope persists. Investigators like Mike Gamberg and Sheriff Greg Hagwood have vowed to keep pushing forward, driven by their personal connections to the victims and their determination to bring closure to the families. Whether or not justice is ever served, the Keddie Cabin Murders will forever stand as one of America's most haunting, unsolved crimes, a story of violence, loss, and an enduring quest for answers. The legacy of the Keddie Cabin Murders is one of unresolved pain and lingering questions. For the Sharp family, the loss of Sue, John, and Tina remains a wound that time cannot heal. The surviving siblings have spent decades grappling with the trauma of that night, their lives forever shaped by the violent act that tore their family apart. Sheila Sharp's courage in keeping her family's memory alive has been a beacon for those who continue to seek justice, ensuring that the victims are not reduced to mere statistics in a tragic story. As the case approaches nearly half a century of mystery, it stands as a testament to the complexities of human behavior and the fragility of justice. The unanswered questions about motive, method, and identity continue to haunt those who have studied the case. For true crime enthusiasts and investigators alike, the Keddie murders represent both a challenge and a tragedy, a puzzle that may never be solved, but will always be remembered. In the quiet town of Keddie, where Cabin 28 once stood, the echoes of that night still linger, reminding all who pass through of the darkness that can exist even in the most serene places. The enduring fascination with the Keddie Cabin Murders speaks to humanity's deep desire to make sense of the senseless. The brutality of the crime, combined with its unresolved status, has left an indelible mark on those who have encountered the story. For the families of the victims, however, this fascination often feels like a double-edged sword. While public interest keeps the case alive, it also reopens old wounds, forcing them to relive their pain with each new theory or documentary. Their hope remains that one day the truth will emerge, bringing some measure of peace to a tragedy that has defined their lives. In the end, the Keddie Cabin Murders are more than just an unsolved crime. They are a reflection of the fragility of life and the enduring impact of violence. The unanswered questions and lingering mysteries serve as a reminder that justice is not always swift or certain. Yet as long as there are those who remember Sue, John, Tina, and Dana, their stories will not be forgotten. The search for answers continues, driven by a collective determination to honor their memory and uncover the truth behind one of America's most haunting, unsolved cases.